Welcome to this tutorial on curriculum profiling. In this video, we'll look at how to profile texts using a word list developed for the GCSE, the high-stakes examination taken by students in England at age 16. We'll look at how to interpret coverage, see how well a text aligns with curriculum content, and discuss how to edit your text to improve that alignment if needed. Today I'll be profiling a German text from lingua.com, aimed at CEFR A2 or low intermediate learners. But you can use MultilingProfiler to profile any kind of text you like, including something you've written yourself, with or without the help of AI. I've chosen an A2 text because both foundation and higher tier GCSE tasks are benchmarked at this level. So, this text could potentially work for either tier. To get started, just copy and paste the text into the profiling window. GCSE word lists are designed to help ensure that learners know enough words to understand texts about relevant topics, and also guess the meaning of unfamiliar words from context. Research shows that learners need to know at least 90% of the words in a text to get the gist. For a deeper understanding, especially for inferring the meaning of unknown words, 95 to 98% coverage is recommended, with the higher end particularly relevant for younger or less proficient learners. That's why the GCSE policy sets clear targets. For reading, about 96% of the words should appear on the curriculum list. For listening, it's 100% because there's no visual support. I'm going to run this text through both the foundation and higher lists for both reading and listening to see if we can work out which mode and tier it aligns best with. You'll see that curriculum lists are available for both awarding organisations in England, AQA and Pearson Edexcel. Today, I'll be using the Pearson Edexcel lists, but if your school uses AQA, just select those instead. The process is exactly the same. One thing to keep in mind when working with German is that you'll often find compound words in texts, and those aren't usually included on word lists. The pop-up in MultilingProfiler reminds you to split up any transparent compound words in your text so that the individual parts can be counted as part of the profile, assuming, of course, that your learners have been taught how to handle compound words. I'll go ahead and do that now, before clicking Profile Text. Okay, so let's start with the foundation listening list. That gives us a global coverage of 77%. That's the percentage of words in the text that appear on the list. The remaining words, shown in orange, are those that aren't included. 77% is well below the 100% required for listening, so this text wouldn't be suitable for foundation tier in this mode. Now let's try the foundation reading lists. The head words on reading and listening versions of the same list are identical, but the reading version includes both inflected and some derived forms of the head words, while the listening list includes only inflected forms. Again, because learners just don't have any visual context to help them work out meaning when they're listening to speech. There's more on these different ways of counting words in tutorial 3. Let's see if switching the mode makes a difference here. With the reading list, coverage does increase slightly to 78.3%, because as you can see, a few derived forms are now covered. Leren, to learn, and lehre, training, from the core noun lehrer, teacher, and also Verkäufer, a salesperson, from the core verb verkaufen, to sell. But that's still well below the 96% target for reading. So let's try the higher tier. With the listening list, coverage rises to 85.1%, which is better, but still far from the required 100%. If we switch to the reading list, coverage increases again to 86.4%, thanks to the same derived terms that we saw before. That suggests that this text might be adaptable for use as a higher tier reading task. One quick option is to remove a paragraph that contains lots of low frequency words, assuming that doing that doesn't affect the overall flow. In this text, each paragraph describes a different job, so we can do that without breaking the structure up too much. That boosts the coverage to nearly 90%, which might make this text okay for classroom activities like gist reading or dictionary supported reading. But to better align it with GCSE standards, let's explore a few more types of edit. There are three main strategies for improving overall alignment with curriculum lists. First, you could gloss key topic words like Volksschule, a primary school, Bauer, farmer, and Hof, farmyard. The GCSE allows 2% of the words in a reading list to be glossed like this. Second, you could substitute lower frequency words for more frequent ones. For example, if the text includes quite specific terms like verschreiben, to prescribe, you could try a more general term like empfehlen, to recommend. You could also try finding a synonym. For example, saying das Essen kochen, cooking food, instead of Speisen zubereiten, preparing meals. Or saying ein einzelnes Fach, a single subject, instead of ein bestimmtes Fach, a specific subject. Finally, you could remove any low-frequency words that don't add much meaning to the text. For example, rather than listing crops, vegetables, and fruit as examples of what's grown on farms, vegetables and fruit is probably enough. Finally, the GCSE permits up to 2% of words to be unfamiliar but easily guessable because of their similarity to English. Examples of this in this text might include Medikamente, medication, Praxis, medical practice, and possibly even pflanzt, he plants. You can include cognates like this in the profile by clicking Add to List and extending the list manually. There's more on that feature in tutorial 8. So let's see what happens to the coverage if we make those changes. You'll see that all new words and phrases, empfehlen, Essen kochen, and Einzelnes, fall within the top 2,000 words. If we add those glossed words to the list as well, the updated coverage is 95.2%, which is much more in line with the expected standards for higher tier reading. This means that learners are now much more likely to understand the whole text, and also be able to use context to guess the meaning of the remaining unfamiliar words. Älteren, untersuchen, Chirurgen, Lebensmitteln, and the various different animals that the farmer keeps. If you're curious about the research behind the GCSE word lists, how they were built, why certain words were included, and how the vocabulary demands differ across reading, listening, and production, take a look at the short accessible summaries pinned below this video, all of which are available in the OASIS database. In the next tutorial, we'll be using weekly word lists aligned with the LDP and Oak National Academy syllabi for the GCSE curriculum, to explore when a text like this one might become accessible within a 5-year learning sequence.